Alrighty. Ooh, it is Tuesday. It is almost time for Halloween, and I have been pretty stressed. Not stressed. That's the wrong word. I've been busy. I'm happy with all of my life choices at this moment. But I have been a little bit stressed. So I thought I'd take just a half hour to. I got toothpaste. What the hell is that? I got toothpaste on my face. Putting the boys to bed. So that's where I'm at. I'm kind of I'm still very new to this, so I still don't really know kind of how I want it to go exactly. I'm sort of envisioning doing like Wednesdays. Wednesday feels like a pretty good day, but I'm going to kind of play it by ear. That being said, I had like a kind of busy day and just a lot going on. That's one of the best parts. Isn't she pretty? I had kind of a busy day. Just got a lot of plates spinning, got a lot of balls in the air, got a lot of things I want to take care of. And so I thought I would take just half an hour to just trim some shoes, because finishing shoes is like, it's terrific anti-anxiety for me. All right, she's good. She's done. I do want to write 2025 on the heel of her. So I'll do that now before we get too into it. Ugh. I did not take care of my needle, and so of course it's clogged. Let me unclog her. All right. This is not going to be a particularly thrilling. I'm not going to cover a lot of particularly bell and whistly stuff. Oof, I'm just going to trim some shoes. All I want to do is get some shoes trimmed. And I have a shoe who's done and ready to be ready to get her ribbons on her bag. And so I'm going to give that to myself as a treat. And then I'll probably try to come in and do a proper one tomorrow night on Wednesday, but we'll see. Because what happened to me is I was like, whew, I did it. I made it through October, because I had a lot of big events in October and a lot of big deadlines. I was like, all right, I did it. Made it through October. And then my kids were like, hey, when are you going to make our Halloween costumes? It's like, oh, right, you guys need Halloween costumes for Halloween, which is part of October. All right, I'm very happy with that. So I just freehanded 2025 on the heel of her. As a reminder, I'm leaving this side. I don't know yet what I want to write. Maybe throw me something sister, or I don't know, 25 years of muses. I've been putting 25 years of muses on a couple of my shoes. But I want to leave that. So I'm going to put 2025 on the heel. All the nooks and crannies. So that's pretty. I'm gonna set her down out of the way. So I have this I like a little slipper, like a little, I guess it would be a mule. I like a little slipper. And I was doing a mask buffet in this color scheme was purple and black. So I was like, while I've got those glitters mixed up, I'm going to do a shoe that's purple and black. So I need to trim her edges. And I have this little guy. And I think that's just a cute, it's not the fanciest thing you've ever seen, but it's pretty cute. And so I'm going to do that. And I'm going to grab my purple, green, and gold curls in a minute. I got the pink that I need to work on those. We're just chilling. And I can already feel it relaxing me a bit. Glitter therapy is real therapy. I don't care what anyone says. I don't feel like I get a ton of people arguing with me on that. I don't feel like I get a ton of people who are like, what? No. I feel like the people who get it, and the people who don't, for the most part, keep their opinions to themselves. Okay. So I've got a nice black sequin trim on that. This is a trim we used to carry at the shop. And I don't know, we might carry it again. I'm kind of on the fence about it. We've got some really beautiful, really ornate trim, but this is a nice kind of simple, you know, inexpensive, but nice for what it's for, which is kind of a basic throw-in shoe. I think there's kind of a dichotomy of like the shoes that are crazy, elaborate, you know, scale model of the Louvre, and like, I love to do that stuff. That really nourishes me artistically. There's also absolutely nothing wrong with just doing some simple throws that are just lovely and well executed. So it's good to do a mix. And I have a tendency to not... I tend to put the really bananas ones, the really like the ones with a lot of bells and whistles that like light up and spin around and have all the transfers and the expensive trim and a million little handmade miniatures that took me hours and hours and hours. I just got the video up for the Dia de los Muertos kit, and the full video, and it's start to finish, it's every little bit, it's every single step, including the glitter, the confetti, everything's in there. It's like an hour and a half, and that's not even, you know, including... There are some moments where I'm like, okay, I'm going to finish this up and let this harden, and it's an hour and a half just continuous. People always say, like, how long does a shoe take you? And I don't time it, but that's timed. I would say a Dia de los Muertos shoe, even done at max speed, even if you're, oh, I don't know enough about games. There's a term for, like, if you're trying to finish a game. I want to say speed run. Even if you're speed run in the Dia de los Muertos kit, I think it's 2 hours at least. And I love those. I love to share those. That's mostly the stuff I'm psyched to talk about, because I feel like the more crazy you go, the sort of more your own artistic reflection, the more of a reflection of your own individual artistry it is, because we all add our own kind of spin on it. But for the most part, like if I sat down and did like a basic purple, green, and gold pump, I think I would execute it beautifully. I think it would be a nice, cleanly executed shoe. But I also kind of think it would be pretty similar to anyone else's if they used the same colors and they had been doing shoes approximately the same amount of time as me. Whereas if I put some bells and whistles on there, it starts to look like me. The crazier I go, the more it looks like me. So, all right. Trimmed out, just a nice little black edge. I just really like to put an edge on all of my shoes. I think it's just pretty execution. And then I love this little bow. I save the embellishments that are on my shoes that I thrift. They have cute little bows, or they have pretty little jeweled buckles. Sandals oftentimes have really cool like jewels on the straps. I save those for sure. I've got a great stash of little bits that I cannibalized off of another shoe. Because every once in a while, it's just the exact thing you need. I think that's super cute. She's a nice, simple girl, but I love her. So I'm gonna... I think I want to do two-tone glittering on her. I think I want to do purple outlined with silver. Just a little bit of silver to bring out the silver of the jewel. I might add some rhinestones, but I'm not unhappy with her exactly like that, obviously, with the lettering. One of the things I love about a simple little slip-on kind of sandal, and obviously I say slip-on, I've cut all the stuff off. This isn't like a shoe as it would be worn. Though it does kind of remind me of... whenever I make a little slipper like this, it reminds me of one of my favorite impressionists. Manet has a painting of a woman, and she's got cute little kitten heels on. I could certainly find what it's called, but I don't know off the top of my head. So it reminds me of that. It sort of reminds me it's got a old-fashioned opulence to it, that shape of shoe that I really like. But I also really love that it's a nice big space to really highlight your glittering. So if you are somebody who is kind of pushing your glittering, I think these are really great shapes of shoes. So I am going to glitter her. Do I have the purple glitter here? I want to use Gal Pal Val on her because you can maybe see she's a mix of a whole bunch of different purples. And I want to use the kind of light one. She's a mix of Power Purple, Gal Pal Val, and then I'm pretty sure her confetti is Violetta Mania, which is the confetti from our fine art series from January, from our Carolyn Thomas glitter. I've got some black. Tends to show my hot glue strings worse than any other color glitter, or better. It should, depending on your perspective, I guess. I do now. I've kind of gotten spoiled because I know I'm going to take a heat gun to it, and a heat gun's going to melt all the little spider webbies away. So now I'm even less careful because I know I'm going to edit that away. But she's pretty cute. I don't have my glitter handy for her, so I'm not going to do that at this moment. I'm going to glitter a whole bunch of them in a pack. And that's just what we're going to do. She's a cutie. All right. You go over there. Where are my... Oh, looks like no. Purple low. That's Purple Prince. I don't think I want to do Purple Prince on her. I have a little box here, which is glitters that I need to like file. So while I'm working with them, I keep them on my bench, but when I'm done, I put them in the box, and that way I'm not like filing. Oh, there she is. Y'all, since I'm stretched a little thin, I know I'm super ADHD tonight. I also was massively overdue for bleaching my hair, so I bleached my hair. And the first couple of days right after I bleach my hair, it's a little awkward. It looks a little bit like Draco Malfoy. So we got to give it a minute to grow in. All right. Come here, girls. Come to me. All right. So these are the purple, green, and gold girlies that we did last week. And this is some Carolyn Thomas glitter. So I'm going to letter her, I think. But let me brush these girls first because I love to brush. So, if you are new to the confetti technique, you aren't maybe as accustomed to this, but this is one of my favorite things. When you layer confetti in with your glitter, the confetti sort of sticks to the glue, and then the ultra fine or the extra fine fills in all the space in between. And so for a while, the ultra fine and the extra fine will kind of sit on top of the confetti, so the confetti looks really like blurry. But I've got my archaeologist brush. Oh, that never gets old for me. Oh, I love it. As I brush off the loose glitter, and I've got some loose glitter there, as I brush it off, oh, it pops back out. Oh, and then it also, you can maybe see, I've got some sitting on my clean green glitter. It just cleans the lines back up. The archaeologist brushing is just so satisfying. All the confetti emerges. All the line between color gets clean again. Oof. That is one of life's great pleasures, is brushing a dry shoe and seeing all the confetti pop back out and all your clean lines reemerge. And my lines are like, okay, I'm pretty happy with the cleanliness of my lines considering I'm going to trim. I know some muses who really get a very clean edge. That's a pretty clean edge. I'm pretty happy with that. So she's so pretty. I'm going to put some really big, fat, juicy gold trim on her because there's some gold inside, but she's mostly purple and green. So I'm going to put some really juicy gold on her, some really big feathers. And then, I don't know, I might do a little like, I was eyeing this. This might be good if it works. I have some like little tiny masks, and we carry the tiny masks at Craft Culture. This one's a little bit awkward because it's like a magnet, but it would be cute to put like, I don't know, maybe I'll put a little mask on her. I don't know yet. Anyway, she's been brushed. Does she need another coat of gold inside? She looks okay inside. She maybe needs a touch-up, but touch-up's not a big deal. She needs a little touch-up right here. There's just a spot on her toe where she got a little bit rubbed, and I think she could probably use a second coat of green on her bottom. And so I talk about how if I'm doing a big batch, the way that I can tell that I've done 2 coats is if there's confetti in the coat. So you can see, I know I've done my second coat over my green here and over my purple here. It's because I did a first coat of my purple especial and a first coat of my green especial, also sometimes called my base purple or my base green. And then when I did the second coat with my nice clean purple prints and my clean green card, I layered some confetti in there. So that way it's easy to look and say, oh, okay, I haven't done the second coat on the bottom of the shoe yet. And a true Muses shoe, every coat, every surface needs to be coated with glitter. That's what's up. Okay. But she looks good. She just needs a little bit more. She also looks good, but she needs, what does she need? What do any of us need? So her gold interior is done. I would like to do another coat of Pants Off Dance Off Pink on her heel and her platform. I'll probably do her like that. Yeah, I'll do it like that, and I'll do all the pink at once, which will be good. And I've got that glitter here somewhere. I'm super disorganized right now because of the aforementioned pummeling that October felt the need to lay at my doorstep. I can't complain though. We did a lot of business and I'm extremely, extremely grateful. All right, so she's, ha 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 ha. Come out, wherever you are. I'm also very hoarse. Yes. It's not as dramatic on the inside, but, and when you're brushing your shoes, a lot of glitter tends to get trapped in this little space down here. That's one of the reasons that peep toes are my favorite. So definitely you want to get every nook and cranny. If it's going to come off, you want it to come off in your workspace and not in somebody's hands. All right, she's good and ready to trim. How about you, baby? Yeah, all right, here's another one. Oh, that's so good. Oh, whew. It is almost indecent how much I like the way that looks. Everybody, I guess, gets their kicks. And my aforementioned confetti technique, I can tell I haven't put the second coat. So even though that looks pretty clean, I can maybe see some bald spots if I really look close, and she just needs a second coat. I really thought this was going to be an evening of trimming, and it's not. That's okay. The evening does not always go where you expect it to. That's all right. I do have some shoes that I know I can trim the edge of. I've got a couple of king cakes, and I'm going to definitely do those. All right. So she needs another coat of green. She needs green also. She's ready to trim, but she's the only one. So, like, is she even worth it? I mean, yes, she's worth it. I'm sorry. Just in terms of efficiency. Just in terms of, like, lining them up. Let's see what else we got. Why don't I go ahead and do the edges on my king cakes? And then if I finish those and feel like I still have juice in my caboose, I will do her as well. So I feel like, yeah, I'm just going to do simple gold gimp on her just to give her edge a little finish. That's so pretty. I wish I had metallic gimp in every single color there is. That's my wish. Okay. Bear with me, y'all. Hey, baby. All right. Ooh. Okay. Nothing to soothe your anxiety like some king cake shoes. I am not worried. We've got plenty of time. But I do feel like after October, it kind of goes Thanksgiving, holidays, and then all of a sudden Carnival is here. And there's just a lot I want to get done in November and December. So I'm glad I've created a little bit of accountability for myself. And yeah. Did I get all the... Make sure I got all the toothpaste. Of course, now I've got glitter on my face, so I don't... You know, what am I even doing? Why am I even bothering to brush things off of my face? Okay. Whew. Okay. So I've got these little rolls of some very thin, kind of antique gold. This was also something that we used to sell in the shop and we don't really sell anymore, but I kind of think we should. The difficulty with the shop is it's very easy to add new products, like emotionally, like, oh yeah, we need that also. But it's basically impossible to take anything out of the repertoire because, you know, we kind of fall in love with it. And then like, we can't get rid of that. That's like, I feel like we've, in the time that craft culture has existed, we have over 100 colors of glitter, well over 100 colors of glitter. And I feel like we've discontinued like maybe 4 of them. And we have the limited editions, of course, but even the limited editions, sometimes there's demand and, you know, we want people to be happy. So we never go into a limited edition knowing that it's not going to be a limited edition because that feels like it would be a little dishonest. I don't want to tell people, oh yeah, it's a limited edition. You should hurry and rush and buy it. When the truth is, I don't know. Gumbo Zareb is probably one of our top 5 most popular glitters, and she was initially a limited edition. She was one of the cookbook glitters. So we just never know. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that one is sold out and that was limited edition. And there is a general outcry and we bring it back. I kind of was discussing today Aurora Borealis and Crab Nebula, which were 2 of our heavenly bodies, the limited edition glitter series that we're currently in. Both sold out so quickly that none of us who work at the shop bought Crab Nebula. And we realized today, because the very last jar of it that we had like secreted away, like not even on the shelf, sold today. And we were like, oh my gosh, none of us got Crab Nebula. It went so fast. So I also feel like there are people who don't really start their glittering until closer to the parade, which is a very valid way to live your life. I'm not suggesting that obsessing about it year-round the way I do is the only way or even necessarily the best way. I'm in a different position in that I do it for a living, so, you know. I mean, not making shoes for a living, but kind of being aware of what goes into making shoes. Alrighty. So yeah, where I started this tangent was it's very hard to discontinue things. So our inventory grows, but it's really hard to ever scale it back. All right, just a pretty gold edge so that she's finished looking. She's gonna get some lettering. I like, in general on my king cakes, I like to take a nice toasty brown. Either, what browns would I use for this? I could use Gingerbread House, but it's pretty close. I'd probably use Bittersweet Symphony or Monkey Monkey Mocha, depending on what I had handy. I might even use Boozy Cocoa, which is the holographic brown. I like to glitter it inside. I also sometimes do the tiles inside. I think that's pretty and it looks kind of fun. And I like to put a bunch of king cake babies on here. But I don't know where my king cake babies are. So let me finish trimming all the lower edges. And it looks like I did, what did we do? It looks like I did 2 with sprinkles, 2 with regular sugar, and 2 I tried to layer paint underneath the sugar, and I'll show you all that. This is how I traditionally do a king cake, and this is how the king cake, the instructions in the king cake kit will tell you to do a king cake. And I think it's really pretty and it really reads like a king cake. You put the glitter snow, which creates the frosting texture, and then you put white iridescent paint on top of it. And then while the white iridescent paint is wet, you sprinkle the big coarse sugar in there. I think that's lovely and I'm a big fan of that, but I am also kind of fiddling around with other ways to do it. And the same thing with, you can do the same thing but with the sprinkles. Though with the sprinkles, I will admit I'd layered a little bit of white glitter. It's hard to see. I don't know about the lighting in here. I don't know if it's helpful. I also don't know what to do about it if it isn't. I'm not, you would think that after COVID and the many, many lives I did, I would be like Miss Live, but not so much. It still feels very, very weird, and I still don't really know exactly what makes sense logistically in terms of making videos. I'm figuring it out a little here and there. All right. When a shoe has a platform, even if it's a low platform like this, I do like to line the edge between the main body of the shoe and the very bottom of the shoe. So like, I'm looking to see if I have a more clear example than this one. So like if I was doing her, if she was all glittered up, I would put a line of trim around the bottom of the shoe, the top of the platform, and then also around the bottom. She's really pretty. I don't know what I'm doing with her yet. I pulled her out to kind of look at her and wait to get inspired, but I haven't yet. She's been in my stash for a while. I think she's been in my stash since Memphis. We were talking at the Dia de los Muertos workshop about like, sometimes shoes got to sit in timeout for a long time. And timeout isn't really, timeout makes it sound like the shoe did something wrong. It's not the shoe's fault. It's just there are so many annoying deadlines that we have to power through. If an individual shoe stops being fun, put it down and pick up one that is fun. There's a million ideas and only so many hours in the day, so you might as well put away the things that are frustrating you, let them sit for a little while. And sometimes you put down things that are frustrating you and you come back to them later and you have kind of fresh eyes. It's kind of like with your kids, you know? They'll be driving you absolutely nuts and you just step into the other room and take a deep breath and suddenly you don't remember what you were even frustrated about. It doesn't work every time, but often works. I'm trying to finish up my kids' Halloween costumes. They're things from video games that I don't really recognize. So we kind of had to like, they showed me some art and we're like, this is what the character looks like. So we're doing that. My kids are old enough to pick out their costumes, old enough that they aren't like, when they're babies, you can dress them as anything you want to dress them as, and they can't tell you no. And then when they're big, they maybe don't want to trick or treat anymore because they're too cool for school. I assume. I've never raised teenagers. I don't remember when I stopped trick or treating. Like I must have, but I don't remember being like, oh, I'm too mature to trick or treat. I must have. I gotta ask my sister if she remembers when we like stopped trick or treating. But my kids are not old enough to stop trick-or-treating quite yet, but they are old enough to like map out their own destinies, which is bittersweet. Like, I'm proud of them that they have their own minds and their own choices, but it's also like, oh, I remember when we got to do a cute family costume. So I told them that. I was like, I miss when we used to do family costumes. And they were like, we're both from video games. You could be something from a video game, and then we'd be a family costume. I was like, fair enough. I don't really want to do that, though. I weirdly do not dress up on Mardi Gras Day, even though I'm like a super crafty person and like super into costumes and like very, very, very into carnival. I actually just, sometimes I doll up a little bit, but I don't like dress up on Mardi Gras Day. And the reason for that is I'm just taking the pressure off myself. I can push through the whole season, and Halloween is kind of the same way for me now. I don't really feel like doing a Halloween costume because by the time I get to Halloween, I've kind of given it all I've got. So trim that edge. Trim, trim. This is very nice. This is very relaxing. This is exactly what I needed. A little half hour of trimming the edges. I keep my shoes in the thin bag. We carry 100 of these at Nola Craft Culture. Let me see if I can show y'all. I have a big old, can y'all see okay? I have a big old thing up there. My camera work on this is amazing. Let me flip? Oh, yeah. So I have hanging on nails so I can just grab them. I can just pull them down. I also have, every note anyone's ever written me saying that they like my videos and they liked my shoes or like, thank you for, so I keep those on my wall, and also a ton of art from my kids and drawings from my kids, but just a little happy. It's nice to look at and think about. It's good to have happy memories. It's good to have good juju in your space, in your creative space. Just puts you in a good frame of mind. Okay, how do I wanna, this is another one where I have a platform, but it looks like the frosting goes down onto the platform a pretty decent way down. So I'm not gonna, I just said I like to do both, but on this one I'm not gonna. But I am gonna line the peep toe because I don't want that to be bare. Oh, but I said I was gonna show y'all the difference between the experimental glitter I did. So I wanted to kind of, I was playing around with different types of king cake frosting. And I've tried a lot of different things, because experimenting is the best way to figure out a better way of doing something. And I'm pretty happy with the king cake. I really love the king cake kit. I think it has everything you need, nice and tidy and like well thought out. If I can say so, that's kind of patting myself on the back. I guess I can't say well thought out if I was doing the thinking, but I do think the kit is nice. And Baked with Love was a glitter that I developed very, very early on because I found that a lot of golds were too yellow or too silvery, just too cold. It needed to be warm. It needed to feel toasty. So I did a blend that was just more like a baked good, more of a baked kind of toasty golden brownish gold. It's not that it's brownish, it's hard to explain. It just looks more toasted. It looks like a beignet, it looks like a pizza crust, it looks like a cookie. And that's what Baked with Love is. And so Baked with Love is in the kit because I think it's the perfect king cake glitter. Though I will tell y'all, I keep in my stash, I keep a couple of jars of things that are not exactly custom blends, but like when I get to the bottom of a jar and there isn't really enough to use it, so I save like my little dregs. And when the time comes to marry the ketchups, I will sometimes mix together similar browns and golds. So Baked with Love is the official one, but I have a big jar floating around here somewhere. I have a big jar, and it's the dregs of Baked with Love and the dregs of like Gingerbread House and like Shamelessly Shy, like the kind of toasty golden browns. And sometimes I'll even put a little bit of the browns in there. I think there's a little bit of the honeymoon, which was in one of the moon glitters, and that was like a graham cracker color. If I had a little bit of baklava, I would put a little baklava in there. By baklava, I mean the baklava glitter. I wouldn't put actual baklava in there. And I have a big jar of that, and that's sort of Baked with Love-esque, and I use it like Baked with Love, but on that I have that jar labeled Let's Get Baked, and that's my like close, because it's not exactly a knockoff. I have a jar labeled knockoff smoke show, which is not really correct. It's not a knockoff. It's not like I'm passing it off as anything, but it's sort of functionally similar. It's kind of like a stunt man. That's what I should say. And things like that I find just stretch my glitter stash further, and we're all always looking for ways to stretch our glitter stash further because Lord knows we spend some money on these throws. I mean, it's money well spent, in my opinion. I'm obviously biased because I have a glitter store, but I think the money I spend on my do's and my throws, I think that's some of the best money I spend all year. I think the return on investment on that for me in terms of my overall happiness is high. Right. Pretty. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I want to show y'all. So I showed you, this is kind of the traditional king cake kit with the sugar on top of the frosting. And I can't tell if the lighting is accurate or not, or if you feel like it's washing it out. So what I did is I took some paint and I like painted where the sugar would go. And I like how like saturated the colors are, but I don't know, it doesn't look as much like a king cake to me. It's pretty, it just doesn't really look right. So y'all can see the difference. It's the same, except I painted underneath it's really bright, and I love how bright it is. So I don't know if there's a middle ground, if there's a way to make it look lifelike. I love them both. I'm gonna throw them both. I mean, I'll tell you that. Tell you that for free. I'm absolutely gonna throw them both. But I don't know. I'm still playing around. Always playing around. And one thing I always say I'm gonna do and just have never done yet is the Muses throws a shoe of the year bead, and it's usually something like thematic. So the year that in 2016, that was my first year riding, the theme was Sweet 16, and it was all sweets and cakes and stuff, or candy. And the shoe was a candy, which is candies are not a pair of candies, it's one. Candies is plural. I'm botching this real good. So there was a style of shoe called candies. They might even still be around. This story did not go from A to B. This story went from A to F to Z to... Anyway, candies type of shoe. The year of Sweet 16, the shoe was one of those. I'm trying to think of other examples. The year that it was Wear You Out, where it was like all fashion, it was that really stylistically unique McQueen lobster shoe, the one that like Lady Gaga wore, and it's a distinctive silhouette. It's like, oh, you look at that and you know what it is, if you know what it is. So the McQueen lobster claw was the year that it was fashion, the year that it was puberty themed, the year that it was Are You There, God, It's Me Muses. It was like you know, a Chuck Taylor, like a Converse. That was really cute. I can't remember all of them. They've all, you know, a lot of them are really clever and really well thought out. I feel like we had a really good one recently. When it was children's books, it was like a baby shoe. But anyway, so those are like beads that get thrown in the parade, and every year it's different. And I have a collection going all the way back to the first year, not to like, but that's not a flex. I'm just a nutter butter and like collect that. I need to figure out a good display for it, but I haven't yet. Anyway, a friend of mine found the funniest, again, knockoff isn't really the right word, homage to the sort of shoe bead. Let me show y'all. And what I would love to make the shoe in 3 dimensions and put and tuck a little one of these in there. I think I have some handy. Where are they at? Ah. I think these are super funny. Oh, who's that? It's a king cake shoe on a bead. Oh, that cracks me up. She's real pretty. So I would love to make some and throw them because I think that's hilarious. And what's better than an inside joke? I mean, absolutely nothing. Ooh. I thought I could zip these all out in a half hour. I thought I could zip out my king cakes and like 4 or 5 purple, green, and golds because I misremembered how finished those were. And I am moving pretty slow because I'm a little bit wiped out. Oh, but that's okay. I've run out of my 5-foot glue rolls and I'm having to do the regular sticks like a peasant. If you haven't done a 5-foot glue roll, do a 5-foot glue roll. It'll change your life. I mean, if you do hot gluing. I'm not sure why anyone, I don't think anyone would be watching me who doesn't do hot gluing. Though I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? There are some things I watch on the internet that like I personally do not do. Especially when it comes to crafting. I love to watch other crafters, even if it's an art form that I myself only dabble in. I might, nah, that's too extra. I was thinking about doing some transfers for these that had the sugar on them, but I think that's too much. I think that's gonna muddy my composition. You're gonna look at it and it's gonna be like what I think the brilliance is of the king cake shoe is that it's the shape of a king cake. The kind of oval of the king cake is kind of the oval on a tilt of the shoe. So I shouldn't put sugar on the inside because then it's like it's the oval of the king cake, but also there's something inside. I'm very all over the place about which things I'm like, yes, this makes sense in the real world. This is how this would be if this was a shoe. And then sometimes I'm like, it's a piece of art. It's statue. Functionality is overrated. Functionality is overrated is also not something I ever say in my life. So I'm a very function over form kind of person. Oh, not so much in my shoes, obviously. I don't know. I don't know who I am. And I'm not going to try to figure it out. At this moment, I'm dog tired. Coming up on Halloween. I just don't need to be doing that. Yeah, so I've just got a few more pieces to put together for my kiddos, and then I should be able to coast. And by coast, I mean that is literally the end of Halloween, so I don't know what I think I'm going to do. It's like, all right, I just need to get through Halloween, and then the rest of October will be easy. Halloween is the end of October. Whew. I want to say that my videos are going to get a little more coherent as I get accustomed to them, but we're also going to get closer to Carnival, so it's anybody's guess. I'm just not going to even, I'm not going to even pretend like coherence is on the line or is, you know, on offer. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, here we all are. I need to get myself some scissors. I'm using like my kids' scissors because mine are kind of toast. So maybe I will treat myself to some new scissors. We've actually got some really good ones that we sell at the shop. I'm a fan. I know that I'm perpetually saying, oh, we have this at the shop, we have that at the shop, but you know, we sort of put the stuff in there specifically that is the stuff we like. So, ooh, all my girls are trimmed. Look at these bibis, all trimmed. Can you see? All trimmed. Let me fling a couple kinky. Oh, I wanted to do one more. So these are, how many? I don't know how many. I'm curious. I didn't even use the whole roll, so those are great. Yeah, we probably need to restock those. This is a challenge. Okay, let me see if I have any King Cake Babies candy. I have a bag that has my King Cake Babies and my little ducks. Because, you know, why not? So I think I'm going to put... Y'all excuse me. The ducks can go back in. And I got some really cute unicorn ducks. I'm looking forward to putting those on some stuff. All right, how do we want to divvy up our bibis? I think I'm going to put... I've got a lot of the big, creepy flesh tone ones. Those are pretty fun. So even though there's only one king cake baby and a king cake, I like to put a couple. I just think they're cute. And see, this is what I'm talking about. I'm like, there's only one king cake baby and a king cake, but it's a piece of art. You get to do what you want. Sometimes it matters to me, and sometimes it don't. Come on. King cake babies are such a weird shape. Trying to make them sit in the shoe is such fun times. Okay. And by such fun times, I mean aggravating, but also we chose to do this, so we knew what this was. And then I think I'm going to do... Excuse me. I think I'm going to do some of the littles on my other ones. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. That king cake. I want that king cake baby sitting up so he doesn't look like he's on his back like a dying bug. But he's just determined to drift a little bit. I was thinking it would also be cute to put some plastic beads in here because I know when they ship them, they put the plastic beads in there for like folks who want to experience a little NOLA. King cake babies. Cuties. All right, and I'm going to put some little guys on this one. Yeah. And these, because they're so little, I'm less worried about them being on their backs. That's fine. The big flesh-colored ones, I don't know. Just feels a little weird. King cake babies. I'm going to put some more of those. I'm going to drop some. Sometimes I get a little carried away with the babies. But I do love them. But like, how many babies is too many babies? Probably don't want to push the limit too hard. Some more king cake babies. And then I want to put, let's see how I feel about All right. I mean, just one might be fine. Maybe I should try that and see how I feel about it. You know what? My justification for a bunch of them is I'm going to pretend they're king cakes in the bakery, and it's just there's just babies everywhere and frosting everywhere, and that's what I'm going to tell myself. And then this one's really, it's hard to pick out what I want to do on this one. Let's do some big gold ones. And if I were really on top of things, I would have some of the sugar here so that wherever I kind of glop the frosting, the hot glue, I can patch it in a little bit. But all right, everybody's got king cake babies except you are gonna get some gold ones, just kind of lying around. And there was like a king cake baby shortage post-COVID, and you couldn't find them. Like you had to like save them from your actual, like if you got one in a king cake, you needed to save it and rinse it real good and use it because that was all there was. I've put wires in these as though I envisioned making them into earrings. So maybe I was envisioning making them into earrings. I don't fully recall that. I don't even partially recall that, but you know, who knows? All right, king cake babies everywhere. Everywhere. And I know because these are weird shapes, some of these will pop off, and so I'll just reapply them. My general rule of thumb with adhesives is I try with hot glue first for most things, and then if it falls off, I add a little E6000 because the hot glue will sort of make like a casing almost. And so when you add E6000 to that, if the hot glue doesn't hold on its own, I think that's really just, it's strong. All right, let me see. Yeah, I think that's really cute. I'm gonna reposition one of these babies. And for some reason, hot glue holds on to a king cake baby like its life depends on it. It's very hard to get the hot glue off of a king cake baby. I don't know why that is. I would be curious, sort of, from a materials engineering perspective, to know what it is about the plastic of the king cake baby that like grips so emphatically. All right. Cuties. So I got a cute little row of, I can show y'all. Oh, my desk is very, very messy, so please no judgment. Oop, oop. So I got a couple little king cakes ready to roll. And by ready to roll, I'm not ready to roll. I gotta glitter them. I gotta put the ear on them. I gotta heat gun the little stringies off. But still, that's a very productive evening. So I'll just make 5 brown Muses transfers, and that's what they'll all have. And then they'll all be ready. But it makes me, every step towards having them done makes me feel better. And I do, I feel better. All right, I'm going to trim this gal here. Oh, and I found my Violetta Mania, so I might end with a little glittering. Set those over there, though they aren't wet, so it's not as big a deal. Finding a good spot to set something when it's drying is pretty clutch. Okay, I'm just gonna trim her. And then I'm gonna glitter my little slipper. And when you're trimming, I talk about this all the time, I know I'm going to put something on the front of this shoe because she'd be kind of boring otherwise. So since I know I'm going to start and finish in the front of the shoe because I know I'll cover it up. There are steps you can take to kind of minimize your seams when you're trimming. But even a minimized seam is just not as pretty as a piece of trim that isn't cut and seamed together. Cut and joined together. Seam implies that I'm sewing them together, which I certainly am not. Oh, where did you come from? Yeah, I got to do a hard reset in my space pretty soon so that I can find everything, because I have a tendency to prioritize actually making over organizing. Because like, oh, I've got an hour. What am I going to do? I'm going to sort through things? No, I'm going to glue some rhinestones onto some things. That sounds more like me. But when I force myself to do that, when I force myself to organize the space, it is much more efficient. So yeah, that spot where the edges, where the trim begins and ends, is hideous. But I know I'm going to put something there, so I am not worried about it. I'm not even going to waste the time to try to make a clean join. However, the one that I put on the start and the finish of the heel, I am going to try to clean that up a little bit. And the way I do that, I've done this many, many times. I put a tiny little bit of hot glue right on the end of my trim. I let it firm up. Once it's no longer sticky and stretchy, once it's nice and hardened, I cut and it anchors it. It's kind of like when you put a little bit of tape on the end of a ribbon. Nice. So you can see the end is kind of, I mean, this isn't so bad, but some of them really fray a lot. I have some trim that's like a braid, and if I don't hot glue the edges, it's the whole thing's coming apart. So I got a nice clean cut if I do that little bit of hot glue, just a little bit. You're not putting a big old dollop. You're just kind of spreading enough to glue the trim to itself. So I do that. I have a tendency to put like one little rhinestone at the top of my join on a shoe, but I do that like 80% of the time, whereas I know I'm definitely going to put something on the front of this shoe. So if I'm not completely sure, I'll go ahead and do a clean break. That way I don't, the choice is an artistic one and not made out of necessity. Oh, gosh. We have these spools of gold gimp and silver gimp at the shop, and gosh, they are such workhorses for me because they are consistently really just nice to work with. What I love about gimp as a trim is I find it hugs the curves really well. There are a lot of very pretty trims that are just a little bit like rectangular for my taste, like a little bit too two-dimensional. There's the other issue of like weight of trim. A little shoe, this isn't tiny, but a small shoe has a harder time, I think, holding up to really heavy trim. You kind of have to like match the size of your shoe to the size of your trim. There are exceptions, obviously. There's exceptions to everything, but because she's kind of a petite little shoe, I wouldn't put like this on there because it would just swallow it up, in my opinion. I do sometimes, and I picked this up from KK at NOLA Craft Culture. She says like mother-daughter, where like you put a juicy trim around the top and you put a very similar but thinner trim around the bottom. So like the gold gimp along the bottom edge and that would be mother-daughter, and that's not bad. Not bad at all. All right. But I don't think you can do heavy on the bottom, heavy on the top on a little shoe. That's just what I believe. There are always exceptions, but that's kind of my belief. You kind of want to be aware of like what scale you're working with. Alrighty. Nice clean join. Well, sometimes the angle that I hit like that isn't a pretty curve. It's fine, but you know. If I need to just scooch it a little, yeah. I kind of roll the hot glue off. And then I slightly adjust the angle. That's not going to work for like a big repositioning, but if you kind of hit the curve a little bit off and you want to readjust, you can do that. Better. So that's a clean join, and that's a messy join. And you can probably see the difference. And if you can't, then that is awesome too. I'm not trying to gatekeep anything. I can see, and I know it won't show on the camera because it's too subtle, but I can see some spots where my hot glue is like showing at the, where I didn't line up my trim and my hot glue perfectly. And that bugs me because the spots where the hot glue is on top of the glitter, it's just a little cloudy. It's just a little imperfect. And handmade things have imperfections, so there's nothing wrong with that. But I will hit it with a heat gun. And when I hit that with a heat gun, it'll take the cloudiness off of it. If you have a bit of hot glue that's kind of cloudy, that's really the only word for it, that kind of slight milkiness, that slight cloudiness, if you hit it with a heat gun, it'll make it more clear. Just so I now don't consider my shoes finished until I've given them just once over with the heat gun to melt my little stringies, because the little spider webs they task me. That's my white whale. But it also will gloss up those spots that are a little cloudy, and that just makes the hot glue less, it pulls your eye less when it's gloss. The cloudiness really, like, to me, she's pretty. All right, let me glitter this little mama, and then I'm gonna call it a night. But I do feel better every single time, man. It never fails. Yeah, I like her as she is. All right. My bottle that I unclogged before. I love this nice, big, relatively flat space to glitter in. And I'm not as worried about this being perfect because I'm going to border it, and I'll show y'all how I do that. I get so quiet when I'm glittering. In general, I try to match the color of my paint to the color of my glitter just in case, but I've just got this silver one handy, and I know it's fresh and smooth. And so I'll use that because the glitter that's going on top of it is opaque. Oh, it was perfect and it's smudged. That is okay. That is a bummer, but that's okay. What I'm gonna do, and you know, I got a great request, which is to talk about what to do when things go wrong. And that is certainly it going wrong. I'm gonna rinse this off in the sink. And I know that stresses some of y'all out, the idea of rinsing, but let just stay there. I did not take y'all with me into the kitchen because, I mean, let's have some boundaries because my kitchen is a mess. I did one of my kids' favorites, but it is messy. All right. So, rinsed it off. She's going to dry out, and then I'm going to try again. No harm, no foul. I will say if you have feathers, you got to be super careful when you rinse. And this only works if the shoe is dry. You cannot have, and it's got to be bone dry. It cannot be like, I finished glittering it this morning and I'm doing it this evening and it feels mostly dry, but not like dry. But I promise she's going to be okay. And I know that the rinsing stresses y'all out, or stresses some of y'all out. But I promise it won't bite, so give that a whirl. So I did not complete the evening glittering as I intended. But that's all right. Do I want to glitter one of these girlies just to do some? Let me redeem myself. How embarrassing would it be, though, if I did it and I smudged it twice? I don't think I could recover. But now I'll be more mindful of my grip. But if I smudge this one too, it's actually not a big deal. I will rinse this one as well. Beautiful. Easy and smooth. Glittering is also just maybe something I should only do when I'm relaxed. I can't do that. I would never glitter. Womp womp. There we go. At least one glittered. She looks good. 20. 25. That's my girl. $20.25 Muses. She'll get something up here, maybe some feathers. We'll see. We'll see how we feel about it. Alrighty. So I think that's going to be it for me tonight. And I'll probably try and do a proper announced, planned live tomorrow evening. And I'll probably try to do something a little more exciting than just trimming and glittering and finishing. Oh, I told myself I was going to let myself bag a boot as a treat. But I think I'll save it for tomorrow night when I have the proper parameters of the live. But that's it for me for Tuesday. And I will see y'all later.